I'm taking a look at some of the various training options for the Glock and for pistols in general, and I'll just go around here first and then get into a little more detail. So starting out with a blue gun, which you hear blue gun a lot. Actually this is a rings safety gun or inert gun, but there's actually red ones and gray ones and other colors. Blackhawk makes them and ASP makes them. There's a red, the Blackhawks are sort of a gray color. Basically what they're designed to be is a 100% dimensionally correct version of the gun. This one happens to be a Glock 19 or a Glock 23, since those are both the same size. And you can see that for all practical purposes it's a Glock. The big difference on them is the triggers. Obviously, since it's a solid piece of plastic, the triggers are nothing. So while they're very effective for retention training and for drawing practice and for things like that, it's not really effective for dry fire practice. So while it's a great thing to have, it's not the only thing you want. I think they run about 40 bucks, maybe a little more or less. It's been a while since I bought one. They don't weigh anywhere near the weight of a regular gun, so that's also a drawback sometimes. Coming around, the other blue thing I've got here is a training magazine. Now this is the same weight as a full magazine would be, and it fits into a Glock. It releases with the mag release, and it's weighted, I imagine, so that if you're doing some training, you've got the same feel in your hand as a loaded magazine. Pretty handy, no moving parts. You can hear the shot or whatever, the lead shot or something is in there to make it the right weight. We use them, but we don't use them as much as you'd think. They're kind of pricey, so it's not the first thing I'd recommend buying. Moving around, we have just a plain Glock pistol that's empty, and we've got the magazine for it with some dummy rounds. The dummy rounds are, in this case, are a solid plastic, a high visibility orange, so they're easy to find. I have them loaded here in the magazine just to show you that they load like a regular round, but they actually are, this isn't how we would use them. They do eject like a regular round, they chamber like a regular round. You can pull the trigger on them and they're just going to get a little dent back in the primer area. But what we would normally do is put a few live rounds in, drop one of these dummies in, a few more live rounds in a dummy, and that will cause a malfunction. That'll cause your gun to stop working, and it'll cause the shooter to need to react to that malfunction. So these are fairly effective, and they're not too expensive. I think they're well under 50 cents around, depending on where you buy them and how many you buy at a time. We usually try to buy them at least 25 at a time, because even though they're high visibility, we'll lose them out in the dirt like this. Coming around, I've just got the Glock tool to show you. This is a trigger. It's a reset trigger for a Glock. It's made here in Arizona. Basically what that's for is to take your empty pistol, replace the trigger, and on a regular trigger, on a regular pistol, the trigger will go dead. You'll have to rack the slide to get that trigger back. This is going to allow us to have a reset trigger. By itself it's not so great, but in combination with some of these other training aids it can actually be pretty effective. Next, we've got a safety flag. And back in the day, before we had these other options, we'd have to train this way, and this would let you have the regular pistol in your hand. It would let you holster it. It's obviously inert, but obviously it's in an open condition, so it's not the perfect thing for training. It is handy though to have those at the range to show that your gun is open. Next, we've got a couple of different training barrels. So I'll go ahead and disassemble this Glock real quick. Now this is a Glock 35. If it was a shorter one, I brought the wrong training barrel out. This is for a Glock 23, so for this size of a Glock. And you can see that if it was inside the gun, it would stick out about a quarter inch from the end of the barrel to show that it's an inert gun. Basically though, it's going to replace. I can definitely insert it here. It's just because it's not long enough, it's not going to stick out the front. But you get the idea that it replaces that barrel. Next, we've got just a safety plug, a barrel plug. And this is going to take your existing barrel. There's a wider end, and then there's a narrower end. The narrow end goes through. The wide end fits in the chamber, and it won't pull through all the way. This requires that your gun disassembles, so it's a good mental addition to your training, that you've taken apart your gun, you've made it unable to hold ammo, and you'll see once it's assembled again, that's sticking out the end, so anyone else who's in the area can see that this is a gun that's been disabled for training. The disadvantage to this, in my opinion, is that since it's just a plug inside of here, you don't see from the side, and that's where the Blade Tex barrels offer a little better advantage, because they do show from the top and side that that gun is inert. Okay, as I said, pretty much all of these except for the blue gun are easy to carry around, easy to take with you to the range.
I haven't really seen anything bad on the news on it. Wow, that's awesome.
So those are some different training options for the Glock.